All right. Welcome to what will be our last recording for Math 12. Hand-in assignment 8.2, the third hand-in assignment for the precision measurement unit. Pay careful attention as I go over this assignment because we are skipping a bunch of the questions due to an error, which I'll just point out to you as to why we're skipping them. First of all, it won't be worth 49 marks, it'll be worth 25 marks because of the questions that we are skipping. So, the questions below are based on the following measurements of the inside of a pipe, and you simply proceed to answer all the questions. The metric ruler, 3.2 plus or minus 0.05, and then a caliper, 3.21 centimeters. And the actual measurement of the pipe using a more precise device, 3.2146 is considered to be the correct measurement. And so based on this information, you answer the three questions as to how close to accuracy the ruler and the caliper are, and then which one is more precise. That's number one. Next is number two. Name the measuring device you use in each case. Is it a ruler? Is it a micrometer? Is it a caliper? Or maybe it's a tape measure. Okay. 3. Read and record the following vernier caliper measurements, and they are in centimeters. So you're doing a caliper measurement reading. If you don't remember how to do it, then go back to, lesson 3, where we did vernier calipers. Do a quick review, and then do these questions. Similarly, now on to number 4. You're doing micrometer measurements, A, B, and C, and once again, if you need a refresher, go back, check the lesson, and do them. All right, that brings us to number 5. This is where the skipping begins. Now, the reason why we're skipping number 5, they've got a whole bunch of measurements and tolerances here, but they have no measurement or tolerance for side F or E. Now, I could figure out what it is because I know the full length of side B and I know the length of side D, so I could subtract and find out what side F is, right? And I could do something similar with E, but how am I supposed to know which tolerance they're using for those sides? They're using a different tolerance every single time. So how am I supposed to know which tolerance they're using for F and E? Just does not make any sense. And then all of the questions that follow, you literally have to skip F or E because you can't really do them because there's no tolerance provided. But you can't, because if you go further, like here you fill out the entire table for A all the way through H. So you would skip E and F, fine and dandy, you could do that. But then when you get to the other questions, as I'll show you in a second here, they are asking you to calculate area. And how can you calculate area if you don't know the lengths of a couple of the sides? Area is length times width. So how are you supposed to do that when it's not there? And yeah, I could figure out what the length is, but how am I supposed to know what the tolerance is? And this question is supposed to be about tolerance. So we're skipping questions 5 to 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so now that I've yammered on about that, let's cross them out. 5 out. Cross them out so that you don't do them. Scribble over them, do whatever you do, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. Not enough information provided to do the question. Which leaves us with 10 and 11 to do. So we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 10 and 11. So here we have a cylinder with dimensions shown. Calculate the following: nominal value, maximum value, minimum value, tolerance, and percentage of volume, that is tolerance. Nominal value is just taking the regular numbers. So the volume of a cylinder is simply pi r squared times height. So here's the radius, right? So let's do V equals pi r squared times h, height, right? So here's what I would do. There's my radius, it's 4.3. Pi, radius squared, pi times 4.3 times 4.3 times 11.8, because that's the height. So pi times 4.3 times 4.3 to square it times the height, 11.8. That's the nominal value. That's the value without tolerance, right? So you find that value. Then you find the maximum volume. So you do the exact same thing, except you're adding a 0.1. So your radius is going to be doing the same thing you did here, except your radius is going to be 4.4 and your height is going to be 11.9, right? So pi for B, pi times 4.4 times 4.4 times 11.9. Minimum volume, doing exactly the same thing again, except you're now subtracting. So this becomes the radius becomes a 4.2 and the height becomes an 11.7. See, this is now a problem where they have all the information that we need, and then we can easily do it. That other one, it wasn't there, period. Well, it wasn't enough info. So then we've done these three things, right? So what's the tolerance? The difference between your maximum and your minimum, right? And then the percentage of the minimum volume, that is tolerance. Okay, so you take your minimum, okay, your minimum, and divide by your nominal value. Whatever your minimum was, the answer for your minimum, divide by the nominal value, percentage of the minimum volume, that is tolerance. Okay, I hope that question is clear enough. Brings us to the next question. Surface area of a cube. Maximum surface area, minimum surface area, tolerance, and then percent of difference between the smallest and largest possible blocks when compared to the surface area of the smallest permissible blocks. So, maximum surface area, it's a cube, right? So you take length times width times height. No, sorry, it's surface area, not volume. So, if you're just doing regular surface area, you'll take one side, 4.5 times 4.5, right? That's one side of your cube. And grab a calculator here. That becomes 20.25. Now, how many sides does the cube have? The cube have 6. 20.25 times 6. 121.5 centimeters squared. So this is your nominal surface area, which they weren't asking you to do, but just to show you how you would do this question. So this is the surface area without including any tolerance, 121.5 centimeters. You do the exact same thing, except for the maximum, these 4.5s become a 4.6. You don't need to add any tolerance to the 6. The 6 is simply indicating that there's 6 sides. So you add a 0.1 and that becomes 4.6. And when you're doing the minimum, take away, it becomes 4.4. The tolerance is, of course, the difference between the two. Percent of difference between the smallest and largest possible blocks. So the smallest and largest possible blocks, that's your tolerance. divide by the surface area of the smallest blocks, so that's the minimum. So your tolerance, in other words, this last one here is tolerance divide by minimum. Okay, simple as that. All right, so just to be clear about which questions you're doing for this review, on the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we skip 5 to 9 and do 10 and 11, and that's 25 marks. So this will be a very short final assignment. I guess the error works in your favor. Didn't exactly feel like making up another question, and since there was a couple more tolerance questions anyway at 10 and 11, I just figured do it. We'll leave it at like that. I guess the final thing, so last recording here, I have decided that I'm not going to give you a brain power test. It's really not necessary. We have been advised that most courses this year should be a little bit shorter given the circumstances, and of course we have no exam. So as soon as you've handed in all assignments, you're done. So this unit has 3 assignments. The previous one had 3 assignments. 2 of you have already handed in the previous unit, so you're good to go with that. Finish this one off and you are done with grade 12 math. Again, we're just going to skip that brain power test. So whenever you get everything handed in, whenever that is, you're done. I'm sure it'll be sometime this month. So you'll be done by the time June rolls around, I'm going to guess. All right, that's all for today.